in this conversation, we have to be able to choose hard as parents, because if we don't choose hard as parents, we will not raise resilient children.
That's it. Okay. So let me just say too, what's hysterical is often historical. So hysterical meaning I react really strongly. So that feels like really, really hard. Like I can't do that. It's because it's historical. There's a wound there somewhere. It doesn't mean that it's actually the hardest thing. It's just what feels hardest to you. And so it's easier if I exist behind this wall. So we like low grade suffer from loneliness, disconnection, like where there's no emotional connection. We never feel like we really belong because we're never fully showing up as ourselves because we're so afraid of feeling the hard thing. And what we wanted to talk about is the reality that like that hard thing that you're so afraid to endure again is actually not going to kill you. In fact, I think it's probably the very thing that will heal.
I won't lose hope in the night when the fire's glowing dim. I'll just let go. And I'll try, help me walk this road and find my way back home. Find my way back home. Find my way home.
So we're talking this season about the generations. We're talking about Gen Alpha and Gen Z. We're talking about mental health. We're talking about how this has affected us as parents, how us as parents is affecting our kids. And we want to talk today, in extension from last week, about some of the things that we're noticing in culture and some of the hard parts of what we have been encountering with our own children, that we're encountering in our own lives. If that is worry, fear, we talked about that a lot last week. And this time we kind of want to dovetail off of that and talk, like, I think more directly about addressing the hard parts.
And I think the piece that I would love for you guys to take a look at is, if you haven't listened to last week's episode, I think it's imperative that you listen to it before you listen to this one, because we're picking up on things. Each episode in this season is going to build off of conversations that we've had in the past. And there might be something we say today that you're like, oh, I don't know if I agree with that has more context in a previous episode. So I think it'd be really important to be able to listen to those previous episodes so that there is context as we have these conversations. As we do, I'm going to reiterate one thing that we talked about last week, and that is, we're talking about these things at a societal level, we're talking about them at a familial level and an individual level. So we have to think about all of those levels. And as part of Famous at Home, what we do is we do individual coaching, and we also do familial coaching for your family, for your marriage. And so there might be something that you listen to in this episode that you say, man, I think our marriage could use this. I think I could use this. I want you to think about the one thing that is coming up within you. What is the Holy Spirit resonating within you? Or what's that aha that you're like, if we could just shift that, I think we could start to move in a good direction. And so we have Tender and Fierce coming up. We would highly encourage you ladies to sign up for that. Christi is starting a spring cohort for 2026. And so we would highly encourage you to get in that. We have the Love Your Marriage cohort coming up. You can check that out in the show notes as well. We also have our marriage intensives where you fly in, we meet with you, and we really help you guide your family in a particular direction in your marriage. And so check out those in the show notes today. And if you have any questions related to some of the coaching that we have, or you have topics or questions of some of the context of the conversations we're having, go to the podcast link in the show notes, ask questions, suggest topics. We love journeying with you guys. So want to be able to get some of that out of the way before we get started.
Okay, when you just mentioned marriage intensives, though, it just made me think, we don't talk about them a lot, but we just finished one.
We did.
It was so great.
It was great.
Like,
I
just want you to, like, if you're curious about that specifically, as he was talking, like, that was like the one piece that really stood out to me. Like, reach out. We would love to do that.
It is a joy for us to get to
it's so cool.
Do marriage intensives and then follow up with families and just see the light and life and goodness that comes as families just choose to love each other, to shift how they think. It's really fun. Everyone's
unique. Like, everyone that you can think of is like, it's different, but it's so It's transformational. Someone asked me that the other day. They're like, do you actually see like change? And I was like, that's the crazy part is you do.
Yeah. And it's so fun to watch.
Like they come in one way and leave another every time. And it's just really, it's so cool.
So cool. Tender and Fierce is coming up. Marriage Intensives,
Okay, Tender
all
and
things.
Fierce also, yes.
Tender and Fierce
Tender
is
and
cool.
Fierce, let's just say, some of you are like, what the heck is Tender and Fierce? That's a great question. Thank you for asking. We just list it like it's a thing. But it has been my coaching, so the things that I didn't get, all in one thing. But I can't do a lot of individual coaching one-on-one anymore, just obviously because of time. So it's really the power of group, but it's also at your own pace. So it is different if you did it in an earlier cohort where we went through it together on time. Now it's at your own pace, which is really nice because this is somatic, which means body-based. It is spirit-filled. And so it's research-based in the body, in the really behavioral science, and with the addition of like literally the Spirit of God and the beautiful transformation of returning back to what we as women are made for, which is truly to be tender and fierce. It's not an either or, it is both. And it actually requires both. And so if you feel numb, if you feel like just disconnected, hard to find joy, feels like you're angry too much of the time, discouraged, disheartened, there's just things in the way. And so we get to the roots of a lot of those things, and I hope give a lot of really practical tools. And it's amazing. I love it. And so, but you're able to watch them at your own pace, and then we'll do once a month lives together, and it's pretty fun.
It's amazing. It's such a great cohort. And we also have, and by the way, the coaching we're doing, we also have a living legacy cohort for men. You can apply for that. Mm-hmm. These are the things that I didn't get. And from the marriage standpoint, the Love Your Marriage cohort, these are ways that we can serve you all to give you what we didn't get and that we have spent years doing to be able to get to where we are. And so just really encourage you to do those things. They're fun, and we love journeying with you guys. So that's the best part about this. And so today we want to talk about what's hard. I think it's really important for us to embrace what's hard. We did an episode at the beginning of the year on the victimhood of parenting, or being victims of our own parenthood. And
it's become like a victimization of parents. Like it's so hard. It's so hard. And it's true. It's hard. And you're made for it.
Yeah. And I think, again, we're coming out of a context of mercy and grace.
Yeah.
We start there. There's no condemnation in Christ Jesus. And we were in those hard seasons. We were in the survival years. We were in those difficult.
Listen, I had a really difficult morning.
You did.
I literally had to call I had to call Josh to be like, I need help, because we had a kid melting and I was at max.
We did. Yep. We had that this morning. So
this is not like now.
But it's goodness. We're shepherding little brains that aren't fully developed. We're shepherding little hearts that aren't formed. We're shepherding little hearts that had been with their parents the entire weekend and now have to go back to their little school. Like it's when you enter in and you get to see what we get to do. And I think that's when I was coming out last week, the verse I used was Philippians 4. And to constantly be bringing your worries, anxieties, your concerns to God in prayer with gratitude. And I think a lot of times, every day God ended in Genesis chapter 1. He ended the day, everything he created, he looked back on and said, it is good. It is good. It is good. And then he created humans, and you know what he said after that? It is very good. And so, but we live in a culture, in a hyper-individualized, hedonistic culture that says that we should be good and happy at all times. And that if we're not happy at all times and things aren't perfect, then we probably are doing something wrong, which is very shaming. And after that, you just get to a point where you're like, well, I just give up. Like it's too tired.
Well, it's despair, truly.
And I think we have to be able to look at the truth and go, it is hard. That's right, it is. But it's good. Like, we're doing good things. I had someone email me after one of our episodes on that, when we talked about, being victims of parenthood, saying, at what point do you, almost like stop praying for good things, because God's given you all the good things, but all the good things are incredibly difficult, and you're just like,
okay. And to that I say, choose your hard.
Yeah.
You could have an empty life that feels easier, but that's hard too. Right? To have an empty life, or to have a life that is lacking in things because you just didn't want to endure the cost that comes with them. Because you're right, everything that's good is hard. And choose your hard. Do you want to be depressed and lonely and isolated? Okay, choose your hard. Do you want to have to be in community with people? And there's great joy in that, and there's great conflict. Choose your hard. Do you want to raise children and have a legacy? I look at people in I know some in the literally just celebrated a late 60s birthday who is now alone, never had children. And I look at the life of loneliness. Like, you've chosen it to some regard to protect you, right? To make things, you want to call it easier. And what is choose your hard. Now you're going into your senior years literally alone. Well,
and I would say this too. You also have the hard of, or the loneliness in marriage, the loneliness in families. Like, the reason we are in such an epidemic level of depression and anxiety today, I think, is because of the epidemic of loneliness. Mm-hmm. So, you even think of our friend last week who, Kenny, he comes in, he's a marriage and family therapist, but he talked about the cultures in Africa. And,
yes.
And they walk in and they say, how did we sleep last night?
Okay, hold on. This question makes me so.
Go for it.
We ask this a lot. Like, how did you sleep last night? Which Josh makes fun of me for, because he's like, I would never ask a friend like how they slept.
She has a friend that they literally will ask this every day.
Like, how? But I say it like, how did we sleep? Like, as in, like, there's a collectiveness to it.
Yeah.
So the guy who's a counselor, who's done a lot of work, I think he was raised as a missionary. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So does a lot of work in Africa, said, unbeknownst, like, just volunteered this information. And he was like, in this one African culture, that's the question that they ask in the mornings is, how did we sleep? Because they realize no one's isolated. Like, it is a collective, that they're all experiencing similar atmosphere, like that's spiritual.
Yep.
That's environmental, sure.
Yep.
But there's a spiritual component to that. And so they literally ask that question, how did we sleep?
How did we sleep?
And yes, I have a friend where it's like, if I don't sleep well, she doesn't sleep well. It is like, how did we sleep? And I'm like, we're not crazy. This is actually a human concept.
And what's fascinating too is you think about, I'm going to get into open up a can of worms, but think about the frequencies of your home, right? The environment of your home. I use the word frequencies. Like, there's frequencies. Let's just be honest. There's frequencies. They're God-given frequencies, okay? This isn't New Age. New Age is separate from Jesus, okay? That's just the reality of it. With Jesus, there are frequencies. The spirit of peace, for example, is the highest, spirit of peace, right? Mm-hmm. It's the highest frequency on the planet, right? There's a frequency in your home based upon,
like, an actual, like, energetic, we're talking.
Energetic home. There's frequencies going through your home with EMFs. Like, there's frequencies going through your home with Wi-Fi and all those sorts of things, right? There's also frequencies based upon feelings.
Oh, yeah. Every emotion carries a frequency. If you think about, like, the lowest frequency is shame, which makes a whole lot of sense. Think about people who are stuck in shame. So literally, if we were to measure the frequency in their body, it is such a low tone of frequency, because shame causes us to go inward and shut down. It's lower than fear. It's lower. Anger is actually pretty high, because think about the amount of charge of anger. Love is higher. Joy is higher, but peace is actually the highest.
And I think what's important to acknowledge in all of that is, when we're alone, that we can be alone in marriage. We can be alone in relationships. We can be alone in our own families.
And sometimes that's actually worse, because you're alone amongst people.
Right. Mm-hmm. So, but we have chosen loneliness because...
Say more about that, because people will think that they haven't chosen it. They're a victim to it.
But yeah, because you have said about this, person who was in their, latter years of being lonely. But I see so many lonely people in the midst with people. We're more digitally connected than we've ever been, but we're more socially isolated than we've ever been. So we are alone, and we're choosing that loneliness. And part of that is because of our own, again, we talked about this last week, but our own wounds, our own traumas. And if you've created a pain cycle in your marriage, it's such that you can't trust each other. Well, now all of a sudden, now you're both going separate ways. And by the way, emotional disconnection is the highest predictor of divorce. So it's when, we are disconnected emotionally. This is why we talk about 15 minutes a day. We have a book called Famous at Home that you can get, and it has strategies in there for being able to implement a lot of these things. But a book in and of itself isn't the thing. You have to sit down. That's left brain, right? In order to re-engage relationship, we have to be able to have right brain experiences. You have to have confirming experiences that disconfirm what you have experienced in the past. Right. And to be able to do that together is really, really important. These are some of the things we talk about in our intensive or Love Your Marriage cohort. But the thing that I think is important is, in this conversation, we have to be able to choose hard as parents, because if we don't choose hard as parents, we will not raise resilient children.
That's it. Okay. So let me just say too, what is hard, we've often heard the term, what's hysterical is often historical. So hysterical meaning I react really strongly. So that feels like really, really hard. Like I can't do that. It's because it's historical. There's a wound there somewhere. It doesn't mean that it's actually the hardest thing. It's just what feels hardest to you. And what I would say is, this is where we get lonely. This is where we choose things that actually aren't advantageous. Like they're not really for our good. It's just because we're so afraid of that hard thing. Whereas you wouldn't be afraid of that hard thing because you don't have a history that hurt you, like that hard thing hurt you. So we're going to avoid the thing that has hurt us before. And it's the way we're designed to function. It puts self-protection, right? So it's like, I will never let that happen to you again. This is the nervous system on your behalf saying, I will never let that happen to you again. And so I will shut down, maybe that's like connection with my child. Some people actually put up walls with their children because they are so afraid that one day, like they're going to leave me. They do that maybe with a spouse, like eventually he's going to hurt me. And so it's easier if I exist behind this wall. So we like low grade suffer from loneliness, disconnection, like where there's no emotional connection. We never feel like we really belong because we're never fully showing up as ourselves because we're so afraid of feeling the hard thing. And what we wanted to talk about is the reality that like that hard thing that you're so afraid to endure again is actually not going to kill you. In fact, I think it's probably the very thing that will heal and the very thing that will start to bring back life into a system that started to decay or move toward death. Mm-hmm. Because anytime we start to self-protect, we're moving toward death and decay because we were never intended to protect ourselves. This living in protection it's really a trauma response. So trauma, any type of time we've suffered, basically. Anytime we've suffered, we're trying to protect that for ourselves from enduring that thing again. But it becomes this really repetitive cycle where it's almost like we're worshiping at the same altar of like, I won't let that happen. I won't let that happen. I won't let that happen. And we make really unhealthy choices typically in those cases to protect ourselves from that one thing. And we endure a whole lot of other really, really hard things at the expense of this one hard thing. So what is the one hard thing that like comes to your mind right now as you're listening? It's like, yeah, that thing. I hate that. Never want to feel betrayed again. Never want to feel rejected again. Never want to feel belittled again. Never want to feel lonely. Never want to feel alone. I never want to feel like I don't matter. Like, what is the thing? Like, I keep avoiding that. And because of it, I will endure so many other hard things. Because we make choices in order to protect, like it's like the sacred cow. It's like, I'll protect that thing, but we don't realize at the expense of what? Like we've forfeited so many things. And that could be like you've gone quiet. You've lost your voice. Like you don't stand up for yourself.
Well, and you think about it too, from the relation of, let's just hypothetically say that it's in my marriage. I feel like I can't trust my spouse again because I was vulnerable.
Yeah,
and
good.
The last time I was vulnerable, I got shut down. And
shut down, like that could be like he tried to fix it.
Yeah.
Or she made fun of it. Like,
yeah. How do we know that?
How do we know what?
Those two examples.
Oh, those were personal examples.
There you go.
Yeah.
Just let's just
Those
be real here for a minute, right?
Those were
be real here for a
hypothetical.
minute. So,
but that's the reality, and it's like it can sometimes be so subtle.
But then what it does is it builds a wall between our hearts because we don't know if we can trust the next time. And this is why scripturally these laws are so incredibly important. If you don't bring them into the light, the enemy will twist the truth in the dark. And so now all of a sudden what ends up happening is this one subtle truth right here that, oh, well, the next time you bring a vulnerability, it's probably going to be met with this. Because it was this time. So because it was this time, now I can't bring this up this time. And instead of going forward with it and inviting each other into a conversation, we just live silently. But what Christi's getting at is the trickle-down effect that has on kids. Because there's a slow disconnection that's happening here. Now all of a sudden our kids aren't seeing us as affectionate anymore. Now the kids are watching nitpicking going on between the two of us. Now and that changes the frequency and the environment and the atmosphere of your home. Just subtle little decisions like that, it starts to cost at other places because we weren't willing to choose to do the hard. And listen, I mean, we've been there, guys. Like we get this personally. And this is an ongoing journey. That's what we have to understand. I think in this Western individualized culture of America, we've come to believe a lie that we will have arrived at one point. And you might be looking at us and going, well, you guys have arrived. No, we have not arrived. Oh. Just last week, we were in an argument that we resolved much faster than we would have ever in the past. But that's because of the work that we have done to get to this place, right? So yeah, there was a little bit of a distance between us because we didn't bring things into the light that we should have brought into the light way sooner with each other and how it was affecting the other person. Guys, this is an ongoing journey. That will probably happen again in our marriage. But you want to know what? We're going to correct it faster. We're going to bring it up quicker because we keep learning and growing from each hard thing that we go through. This is how we build resilience, is by doing the hard thing, saying yes to the hard things.
Okay, but I'm thinking of I'm hearing people listen to this through the lens of exhaustion. And it's like, I can't endure another hard thing. Like I don't have the energy to tackle another hard thing.
It's good.
And I just want to call that out.
Good.
We're so weary. Like I often hear it in the lens of spiritual warfare, right? And I have so many women that are like, I'm just so tired. Like I don't have the energy to engage in spiritual warfare I don't
But
have
is it
the
spiritual
fight
warfare?
back. Well,
is it truly spiritual warfare? I think
when you
that's
actually,
another topic.
Yeah, but when
keep going where you're going.
But when you actually look at, I think it's the Hebrew word where it talks about how the enemy attacks. It actually means to wear down slowly. This is how he works, is that he wears us down slowly over time. So it's not like one day, it's many, many days. And then we're so weary because we've been beat down for so long. Like literally, it's almost like the long game of tire them out. Tire them out so that they don't have the energy to tackle the very thing that would actually create a breakthrough. Breakthroughs are a word tossed around all the time, but I'm saying a place of breaking the old strongholds. So places where you've been tied up, held back, held down. I always think of when you think of in the lens of the spirit realm, anything that ties us up and holds us back and down. When it says to run the race with endurance, like it's things that are trying to keep us from running, that are keeping us from being free. And so it might, when we're talking about the hard thing, it's usually the thing that's probably held on to us for the longest. So like, where do you feel tied back, held down? Where do you feel like I just don't have what it takes? Like I literally feel so weary to engage in that fight, because sometimes, and then we feel shame about it. Like add that lens, right? So then you're listening to us and you're like, oh, now I just feel, and I feel ashamed because I should be tackling this hard thing and I don't have the energy. And we talk about this a lot in Tender and Fierce. So we understand like how the nervous system is actually designed to protect us and to function, because that very low level, the lowest level of our ladder, we call it, but it's really just the back branch of the vagus nerve, is dorsal. It's a dorsal vagal shutdown. It is literally a shutdown response that allows us to be numb and disconnect. And it tells you, every thought when you're using that back branch of the vagus nerve is going to say, I do not have what it takes. Like I can't. Like I literally just can't. So I just want to speak to that, even for the people listening, that's like, I want to do the hard thing, but I can't. There's a reason where you're feeling so stuck and tied down. And just can we rip off this like yucky coating of shame that there's something wrong with you?
So good. That's why I'm saying, and again, to go back and listen to previous episodes where we've set context for things. One of the things I said in the previous episode is find the one low-hanging fruit that moves you 2 degrees.
That's it.
It could be that you just need rest. It could be that you just simply say to your spouse, hey, look, I know we're not where we want to be. We're at about a 3 right now out of 10. And you feel it, I feel it. I want to engage this thing. But right now I'm pooped, and I know you're pooped too. Can we give each other grace upon grace in this season? Let's put a plan together for rest, and let's get over the exhaustion so that we can build ourselves up to a place where we go, we're going to address this. But I want you to know I'm in it with you, right? It's not that you have to address it immediately,
that's right.
But it's like, hey, we're going to take the next right step forward, and we're going to bring this into the light. We're going to say what we need, because that's the way out.
But that's exactly it. Like you're addressing the hard thing. The hard thing is that we're exhausted, and you're putting a plan together to actually address the exhaustion. You need to be cared for.
And your spouse may just go, oh my word, you actually see that we're not doing well.
Yeah.
Your spouse could be surprised by that, not even living in this, just living in this, their own isolated world, thinking that they're the only ones that feel it.
True.
And now all of a sudden you address it, and it just that alone brings so much hope into your relationship. And I know that we're speaking to y'all right now, and there's some of you that are an 8 out of 10 in your lives, and some of you are a 3 out of 10, some of you are a 5 out of 10. That's why I say take the one thing that is most relevant for where you are and apply that one thing.
Yeah.
And give yourself grace upon grace, because he loves you with an everlasting love. We love because he first loved us. We have to experience the love of the Father, experience the love of who he is and how much he loves us. And even that, it might just be saying, hey, I just need to start waking up and get in prayer. I just need to wake up and do this very thing. We have a friend who... he's such a good example of this. And again, you have to pay attention to where you're out in this ladder. I was hesitant to give this example because, I hope that we're speaking to you saying, hey, here's how to level, like you have what it takes to level up. And no matter where you are I know Christi will say, hey, we're in this bottom rung of life, and, I'm just trying to get a thread of hope. Then get that thread of hope. Some of you might be at a place where my friend is, where he knows that the atmosphere of the home, we describe it as a thermostat, is so incredibly important, that what he's doing is he is getting up at 2:30 in the morning, and he did a reel on this on Instagram the other day. You can go check it out, Chad Masters. He and his wife, Tori, amazing couple. They have 3 boys, 3 and under. And he's just said, I am going to get up at 2:30 in the morning. And he did a reel where it shows the hours. He gets up and he works out, he prays, he gets working, he does everything so that by 6:30, when his boys are starting to wake up, the thermostat, the atmosphere of the home, he's already ahead in the day. He's already gotten to a place where he can fight for his wife, give her extra rest. He can be with the boys so that she's sleeping in. And now all of a sudden the atmosphere, and he knows it's for a season. He knows it's for a season. I remember doing that for a season. I did the exact same thing when we were in the early years. It's just choosing the hard so that you're not falling and creating more hard in other areas of your life.
That's it. Well, and you realize if you actually see it as a 2-degree shift, like this changes everything. Because I think we think of that as like we have to make drastic change, and we use these, and even for chat, like you can only do it for so long. I mean, he does go to bed at like 7, 8 o'clock. So like you could sustain it. But when you recognize that sometimes like drastic change is short-lived, right? It's a sprint. He knows it's a season. But longevity is like these 2% shifts. That's right. There was a book called The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson that my dad had us read when we were like teenagers. And it's just that basic concept, like a 2-degree shift. I think it's even a 1-degree shift, like literally changes the trajectory of where you're going to end up massively. It's like read 10 pages of a good book every day. Like there was just little, very concrete little things. And I come back to it all the time. That concept is powerful because it actually gives hope in these really hard, heavy things where it feels overwhelming, is recognizing the power of the small shift. And I think we underestimate it. We underestimate, and we also feel hopeless as if this is doing nothing. And you think about all these little shifts. We're talking about frequency. You think about a small shift in the frequency of your home, the emotion that's coming out of you or dwelling within you, and how much that shifts everyone in the home.
And you overestimate what you can do in a day and underestimate what you can do in a year. Yeah. This is a natural human condition. We overestimate what we can do in a day. We underestimate what we can do in a year. But if we're overestimating what we can do in a day, we're getting to the end of the day and not going, it was good. Look at everything we created. It was good. We're getting to the end of the day and going, it wasn't enough. To the point that we do it so often that we go, I'm not enough. And then we live in the shame. Whereas if you just take the small degree change every single day, a year from now, years go by quickly, guys. A year from now, 2 years from now, you're looking at as a completely different family.
That's exactly it.
Because you've made small little changes and you celebrated those small little changes each day rather than looking back at what we didn't get to do. And because then you just live in that all the time and all the time. And it's just, and I think our culture has, we're talking at a very individual level right now and somewhat at a family level. But I think at a societal level, there's so much that was created in the matrix that we find ourselves in that's led to how we think the way that we do.
Okay, which then trickles down to the kids, which is where we started this conversation.
That's right.
If we are afraid of the hard thing, they will be afraid.
Yep.
They are afraid to encounter hard things. They're looking for an out. They're looking for mom and dad to rescue them, even if they're in their 20s, because they've never been modeled to run into the storm, to run into the hard thing, that it's the very thing that builds resilience and character and confidence in them. And so we have to be the ones that allow them to endure hard things, to encounter hard things, to battle for hard things. Like I saw through this window just a few minutes ago, our son go by with the wheelbarrow full of it's actually really nice today. And he's going up to the chicken coop to refill it. So he's got the full thing. And I saw him struggle with the gate and he couldn't get, and it's just, there would be seasons where, and there are so many of us talk about parental fears. Go back to we talked about last week. It's it was really hard for me. I don't want my kids to have to endure hard. Our son this morning, our big meltdown was about going to school because he'd been home with us for the weekend and he did not want to go. He goes to a little preschool. And he's like, please, mommy, please let me stay home. I promise I'll just do my, he was going to do his crafts and he begging. And I was like, hey bud, I love you. And I know you can do this. And we committed to this school. And so you're going to see it through. So I am going to take you. I will not change my mind. And you are going, and I can't wait to hear at what point in the day it shifts for you. Because I think that it's going to. Because every time we pick him up, he's happy as a clam. He loves it. It was just this separation. He didn't want to be separated from us. He can endure that. We're also the emotionally, attuned people that if it was too much, I think we would pick up on this is too much for you. but I never want to protect you from enduring the hard thing. Because what is that going to do? Cripple you for life. And that's what we've done to a couple generations now. And we have to be so careful that we don't steal from them the opportunity to be strong, to be resilient, to have their own resources and not lean on ours, to have a character that is gritty, like that can actually dig down into stuff and say, like, I've got what it takes.
And research shows that laissez-faire parenting or a BFF parent, like this overly, love helicopter parenting, actually children grow up into adulthood resenting their parents more in that parenting style than in any other style. And I think that's fascinating to me, especially because over 50% of parents, millennial parents, said they wanted to be BFFs with their kids. Like, sure, you can be friends with your kids when they're adults, but when we're raising them, they need an emotionally safe authority figure who's both supporting and challenging at the same time, and knowing how much support to offer a particular child and how much challenge to offer that particular child. I can challenge certain individual kids at a higher level of my own children than I can others. And some of them need a little more support in certain areas. And it's like you have to be able to be attuned to what they need from you. But that challenge is so incredibly important. But if we're not willing to embrace it, they're going to learn not to embrace it. And I think that's where we have...
Can I say something? I just thought of one. Like yesterday morning, we were going to church. I don't know what came over me. And I was like, I'm going to do a workout before church because we were going to have a full day.
I was actually shocked about that.
Thanks so much. But our 13-year-old son was also shocked about it. And he came in the room. He's like, good job, Mom. He was really impressed with me, I have to say. And I was really proud that, because he works out with Josh, I don't know, a few days a week. No, what are you at? 4 days a week
40,
now?
yeah.
4 days.
Yeah.
And it's some days he doesn't want to do it. Some days he's asking, he's like, Dad, when are we going to work out today? But I don't get to do that with him, but it was cool that he saw in me and was like, Mom's like, he was proud of me. And I was like, yeah, I didn't really want to do it either, but I did. And these are the kind of things that start to build in our kids this ability to like take on the world. That's in your daily life. That's in your, like Kennedy watched me encounter a woman the other day where it's like, instead of acquiescing, I actually like stood up for myself. And I realized she needs that model also of like, not just avoiding the hard thing, but like encountering the hard thing and being like, that wasn't actually okay. And recognizing every time we choose to do that, not to create conflict, but actually to create peace.
There's a difference between a peacemaker and a peacekeeper.
That's a word.
You're not trying to keep peace, you're trying to make peace.
That's right.
And sometimes making peace means conflict.
Well, it's typically after the hard thing. Right? It's either peace within, where you said the thing that you were afraid to say, you're living in line with what you really want, which is really self-control, right? To be able to control the self, to actually to commit to what you actually believe you want to commit to, like, and then you do the thing. And for the kids to be able to see, like, even though we are encountering hard things, we've got what it takes. And so do they.
And I just want to say this too, because I think this is incredibly important. As we go back and we think about what is that 1 degree shift, 2 degree shift that you can make. Christi was talking about working out, right? Like I loved working out by myself. Like working out by myself is like my way I love working out. It's mental, it's emotional, it's physical, it's all the things. But when I started inviting my son into it, now all of a sudden I have to train him. I have to show him how to do the exercises so that he does them correctly and doesn't hurt himself. I have to share weights with him. It takes me longer to work out than what it used to. But I wouldn't change that for the world. Because I was even this morning just we were doing a burnout session, and push-ups. And I'm sitting there, he's doing push-ups beside me and I'm doing them and I'm like, this is so good. Like, this is what life is all about right here. We're doing something hard together. Yes, I gave up some of I'm giving up some of my own desire but when you invite your children into an activity, you're going to do it slower. It's going to take longer. But what you're doing is you're training them. That's what we're called to as parents. We aren't victims. We get to be we are mothers and fathers. And we want to mother them. We want to father them really, really well. That's how we'll shift society. That's how we'll change an entire generation. Can you imagine if just like the number of families that just chose to say, I'm going to live differently so that my kids get something different. The multiplication of that across generations, I'm telling you this is why this is so burdensome. This is why it's so heavy on me. We have the power to shift an entire generation by how we raise our kids. And I'm not saying that from the standpoint of like, go change the world. I'm saying that it starts with changing you and how you influence your children. Because how you influence your children, it'll be our children that change the world. But it began because of a generation of parents who decided we were going to pursue Jesus with everything we had. We were going to let him guide how we parented our children. And our children were better off for it. And I think that is a much healthier alternative than what the world is giving us today.
So good, love. I just want to add this. Keep thinking it as you're talking. If you're a parent here that's raising Gen Alpha, which is 13 and under, if you realize like we've literally we're the Alpha generation. We're back at the beginning. It's a restart.
That's fantastic. Wow. Bang. That's good.
Was that a drum kit? Did you just
I just gave you a drum tap. That was actually really good. Guys, we're going to keep talking about these things. We'll get more and more practical as we get in and also get even more spiritual, society. Like there's so many things to talk about related to this that are so interwoven and intertwined. But I think the really important thing is just saying, hey, here's the state of where we are and we see you and we get you and there's nothing wrong with you. You're human. You've been part of this system and we've all been hurt, but Jesus has shown us a way forward. And as we embrace that way and we start to input more and more trust in him and his ways, man, the sky's the limit, guys. And freedom. So good. So
don't avoid the hard.
Check out the show notes for Tender and Fierce, Living Legacy, and the marriage cohorts. And until next week, keep in mind that the greatest red carpet you will walk is through your front door.
Keep being famous at home. We love you.
All the fear that